Now we're finding out all the reasons that we need Bob.
I'm wondering if... Let me try something.
Just play it on your phone and hold it up to the mic.
Hold it up to the microphone. There you go. I'm wondering if I... oh my god, I have no idea what just happened.
Scuttlefield, Matt is broadcasting from a 1950s jail cell complete with brick wall. Spreadsheet. Okay. Android on anytime soon. Mobile data connection failures. All right. Google Fit 1.52. Okay. All right. I don't even know what the watch face looks like.
Yeah, I was just gonna look. I don't
think I have the update yet.
Oh yeah, that's probably true.
Oh wait, maybe I do.
Even.
Yep, I do.
Even. Yes,
There's settings for it too.
I don't even know like.
Wait, or do any other watch faces have settings like you can choose a color?
Some, yeah.
Yeah,
okay. On the watch or on your phone?
On the watch.
Oh, I don't think I have any that do that.
Because you can make it like blue or whatever, and there's like a picker.
Yeah, there are a few. I mean, they have the little settings icon like underneath.
Yeah,
the watch
exactly. Okay. If it's like that, that's not new then. All right, but that's the Google Fit watch face.
What's it called?
Google Fit.
Yeah, because like on the ZenWatch there are seriously 20 watch faces that come with it, other than the default Android Wear one. So it's impossible to find anything.
Okay, we're going to kill the LG G Stylo.
Yeah, kill that phone.
AOL. I guess I'll do that. Our pinks aren't unpinking at the bottom of the spreadsheet in the other news section, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's missing something.
We were discussing how upsetting that was earlier.
Oh, okay. Google Docs and slides. Now let you insert images. Okay. I need to read about that because I'm not even aware. Oh no, and all the links are weird too.
See, this is what happens when we don't have Bob. Everything's just all broken.
Everything's broken. Okay. Slides. Okay, slides lets you do tables. Somebody said tablets in the article. Vertel needs to make a spelling correction. You can insert tablets into your Google Slides. The whole tablet can go in there. National giveaway, product reviews. Let me stick the G4 review in there real quick. And And okay, that should do it for the old spreadsheet. And we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, except Matt just dropped again.
Maybe he thinks he finally found a solution for that bug that was discussed 5 years ago. He can update the thread so others will know.
Okay. Well, we're probably going to start like 5 minutes late here, so I may as well BRB since Matt's having issues.
All right. Well, I just got kicked off the internet momentarily, and I'm the only one home, so it's not a bandwidth use problem. So this is exciting. It'll be just like we're at Bob's house.
Okay. Matt, are you having issues dropping, or are you just trying to fix the lower third?
I have exited once because of dropping, and once because I was trying to fix the lower
Okay.
So I won't say I'm not having problems dropping. I'm just saying.
On the upside, your sound is really good, so that's good.
Well, it's good. Good. Because this is an echoey room, so. I feel like I should street tag something on the wall behind me during the show.
Okay, I'm going to social us real
backdrop,
quick
though.
here. So we don't have any intro or outro music. I guess I should just start recording now.
Does somebody want to like try to hum the theme or?
I mean, it's good that we can remember enough. That means it's got a brand to it. We've got a brand.
That's just like some stock music from someplace, right?
I'm
No,
pretty sure
Bob made it.
composed it. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob made it.
Oh.
Yep.
We could play that remix I was talking about of the reshopping
There's-
channel.
There's like one or two sounders that are stock that we used, but most of it Bob made.
I remember hearing a commercial the other day with some background music, and I was like, that's from our Saunders. It was much longer.
Yeah.
Okay. So for our live listeners, as few of you as there generally are, we are doing the show without Bob today. And if you're not familiar, Bob is the person in charge of pressing of the buttons and the sounders and the editing of the show and a lot of the
Apparently, a lot
production
of other
the
things
show.
that we didn't know he was doing.
Yeah, and he, hosts the hangout for the show, and he's the one, making sure everything's getting recorded. And so we're all trying to do that without Bob, which means we're not going to have all those things. It's just, it's not possible.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a little bit more raw than usual, but
Yeah. There will not be sounders or music between sections and everything. It will be a bit more ad lib.
Yeah. Although you should probably try to like write down the time index for when those things will be so that Bob can insert them later easily.
Oh man,
Actually-
I have no way to easily read the time index from where my laptop is.
it's not even going to be that difficult. All we got to do is just leave a pause. Bob can recognize the pauses pretty quick. It's easy to see them on the way
We
forward.
seem to have a moment of silence after each section to
Yes.
to reflect upon what we've said.
Yes. So we will reflect, and that will be our trigger. All right. Good deal. So anything left to take care of on the spreadsheet, guys? We good here?
I think we're good.
All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I got disconnected the last time I tried tried to do a screen share with the voicemails to see if it would play the audio of the voicemail through the screen share, and it disconnected me from the Hangout as soon as I did that. So I'm not gonna try that again. So unless there are any objections, I say we just save the voicemail for next week.
Sounds good. Oh man, that's gonna get super annoying or something like that.
What is that?
Why are you not using priority notifications, David?
I am.
Well, you're not using them right.
Oh man, Artem's trying to talk to me about content stuff. That's not happening right now. Okay. I guess we are. Man, I could have sworn I wanted to do one more thing.
Okay, Ryan, just so we're clear, when we're doing the intros, you are the last intro.
Yes, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So end it with a bang or something. Just
Okay. Do I not usually? Is that?
no. Usually you don't end it. You just say, "I'm Ryan Whitwam," and I'm just saying.
Oh, and yeah,
Oh,
Bob
I
will
see.
be
I
back
see.
next
Because
week.
Bob,
Bob's not
I
like
see.
dead or
Because Bob's
anything.
usually.
He'll return.
Right.
I'll note that we're doing a Bob-free podcast and apologize.
By the way,
profusely
this
to our listeners.
This is episode 160, and also the first one without Bob. So
Wow.
that's a pretty significant streak, I think.
I think so.
So just pointing that out for the record.
All right, so I guess we can say this is where the intro music goes. This is where the intro music goes.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, May 14th, 2015. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm David Reddick.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Ryan Whitwam, and we don't have Bob this week. I'm sorry.
Yes, no buttons are being pressed, so if you notice a distinct lack of buttons being pressed, it's because there aren't any buttons being pressed. So With that being said, let's kick things off with Code Google. Insert Code Google music here. All right, so it's been a long time coming, but it looks like we finally have a 5.1 over-the-air update rolling out to the Nexus 9. So, Ryan, have you gotten it on yours yet? Are you rocking 5.1 on your 9?
I sideloaded it the moment it existed. Maybe even before it existed, because I wanted it so bad. I like willed myself to travel back in time to get it. But I don't know why I was so excited, because it's still kind of not great. I mean, it's a little bit better, but it still feels like a Nexus 9. So kind of weird hiccups every now and then, and just generally not as fast as it should be. But, I mean, at least Google did eventually release it, even though they said, whatever, 4 days before it came out, that it was going to be out that day. I don't know. It came out, and it's okay.
Well, technically, I mean, let's see, it's summertime, so in the northern hemisphere, the North Pole, it might still be the same day. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. That probably happens.
I mean, if I don't know, maybe Google's lunar or something. I don't really know how that works.
All right. Well, so not any noticeable improvements there for you.
Well, I mean, a little bit. It doesn't. I mean, I feel like there are fewer hangs than there were before, but it still does things that most Android devices just don't do. I don't know if that's like all a problem with the 64-bit NVIDIA chip, or if there's just some other hardware reason that it's like that. But the Nexus 9 has just never been a particularly smooth device, and it's still not with 5.1.1.
I mean, with all those hiccups, maybe the Nexus 9 just has gas. Somebody needs to burp the Nexus 9.
I will try that with my tablet later today.
Actually, you could just do that when somebody else is talking. Just It's okay.
Sorry, I have to burp my tablet real quick. Excuse me.
All right, so the Nexus 5 also apparently going to be getting a 5.1.1 update pretty soon, right, David?
Yes, it is. If you believe Sprint, which Sprint, I feel like whoever's in charge of posting the update documents on Sprint, they get an initial date, and then the manufacturer can change it, and that person just never, ever changes it on the Sprint side. They put that information up there as soon as they have a date they know they can put it up. So that means it's probably coming soon. It could be like tomorrow. It could be 2 weeks from now. Sprint is not always perfect, but it is a good sign that the update is at least imminent at this point.
Well, they didn't say it was coming today, so I think that rules out the next 4 days.
Yeah,
that's how this works, right?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably on average correct.
All right, so moving on to some Android issues, some Google stock issues, starting off with a Webview issue, device crashes, very, very bad. Ryan, what's going on here?
So there was an update to the Android Webview component that Lollipop devices get through the Play Store now that just broke things. So a few weeks ago, apps that pulled up web pages using Webview just started crashing left and right. Sometimes they would even cause the device to hang completely. And I mean, this was widespread enough that I had people who don't normally pay a lot of attention to what their phone does, like ask me why their phone was crashing all the time. And it was this. It was every time they tried to load certain pages in Webview. So Google finally rolled out an update to it just recently. So if you update your system Webview from the Play Store, it will no longer crash things.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you like things that don't crash.
All right, so that was probably pretty minor, I think, compared to what some folks were experiencing with their Nexus 6s this week, right, David?
Yeah, so people were having an issue just losing all data connectivity on the Nexus 6. I've not been using my Nexus 6 lately, so I am not certain if this is something that will be affecting my device, but it is apparently, I wouldn't say super widespread. If it was super widespread, we'd probably have heard a substantial more amount of complaining by now. But yeah, it's not even necessarily fixed by restarting the device or going to airplane mode. but it usually I think it usually does come back eventually. It seems to be affecting people on T-Mobile and Sprint for the most part. So somebody on Verizon claimed that it happened to them. Another person outside the U.S. said it happened to them as well, but they could be different bugs. It could be this could be red herrings. So this could be specific to certain carriers. Google is aware of the issue, but their only solution right now is just go ahead and turn that off and then turn it back on and hope.
I use my Nexus 6 on T-Mobile, and I have yet to see this. I've been using this phone for like 2 straight days, which is unusual for me to use a phone for that long, and it hasn't done that. So I don't know.
Huh. Well,
I've been using this phone for 2 straight days. Wow.
I know that sounds ridiculous. I lead a very unusual life.
basically forever.
All right, so moving on to Google Plus. Moving on to YouTube. Apparently, the YouTube collection feature that you may or may not have known existed is no longer existing, right, Liam?
Yeah, so this is a feature that I actually did not know existed until we got a tip that it was going away. But collections, which allows you to basically group your subscriptions together so you can view updates from certain collections of subscriptions all at once. That feature is getting discontinued on May 20th. I don't know if they have any plans to replace it with anything or if it's just going to go away and that's how things are going to be. But
it seems kind of odd. It seems kind of odd that this collection feature is going away at the same time Google Plus is adding one. Just timing's weird.
It is strange. That's kind of why I'm thinking like maybe they have something to replace it that's not called collections. I don't know.
Or maybe they're going to require you to log into Google Plus to view all YouTube videos now, and they're just going to use Google Plus collections instead.
At which point, I believe an angry mob of people who largely never leave the house and just sit there watching YouTube videos all day will burn Google down.
Yes. Wait, figuratively or literally?
Oh, I think they would literally do it.
Okay.
Well, they've already had to accept Google Plus into their lives for commenting purposes, so maybe they'll just have to deal with it this time.
Yeah.
Deal with it? That's a far-fetched thought, Ryan.
Yeah. I know.
There should be an option to have sunglasses slide down from the top of your video feed when you say that.
I would like that. You know, my phone is really good at understanding. Hold on, I'm going to cover it up. When I say "Okay Google" in the podcast, and it's still when I say that, it's really good at understanding that. If it could just understand that I'm somebody just said deal with it, and it could just like pull up the GIF, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah. So if you're listening, Google Plus Hangouts team, that should be in your next update. Thanks.
Yeah. It can just superimpose that over the Hangout.
Yeah. I mean, just drop it down. You've already got the tracking where I could put something on. I could draw something on Ryan's eyes, and when he moves, it'll move with him. So you could just use that. It'll work.
I feel like we've happened upon something that just really needs to happen.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so moving on to Google Fit. Version 5.2 rolled out this week, and they actually added quite a bit of goodies in this one, right, David?
Yes, they did. So Google Fit got support for a bunch of stuff that, well, it probably should have had to begin with, but it now it does it. So you get distance tracking, calorie burn estimates. There's a widget if you want a widget. Google seems to be getting back on the widget thing. Like they seem to have such a torrid love affair with widgets. Some years they like them, some years they hate them. But anyways, Google Fit has a widget now. It also has a new watch face, which is for Android Wear, and I can demonstrate that to you live on our video podcast. There's what it looks like, basically, I guess. You can change the color of it. It's configurable to an extent. So, yeah, and it shows you how many active minutes you've done today. That's actually all it does. It's a whole watch face for the purpose of a little thing that says how many minutes you've been active today, which seems a little bit silly. Although it does look kind of nice, I guess.
So it won't tell you how many calories you've burned or...
No, the watch face does none of that. That would be there's way too much, vast open blank space on this watch face for those kinds of features.
So if you reach your goal, does it explode in confetti? like the app does. Is it?
I assume so. Yes, it is a maybe for calories it like explodes in a pile of hot dogs or something.
I think it'd be awesome if when you reach your goal, it just explodes into a cascading pile of playing cards, like when you beat Solitaire.
Yes, that would be
That would
good.
be perfect. All right.
It would.
All right. So Gmail also up to version 5.2 this week, and they added some new features there that might be interesting to some, right, Liam?
Yes, they would if my mic was not muted. So Gmail 5.2, they changed the add account dialog into a full activity, so that looks better. And inside the code, we found references that might indicate that vacation responders are coming to the app soon, which is nice. And promoted action for unsubscribing from annoying emails, which is awesome. Gmail on the web already promotes actions for emails when it thinks that the email is meant for an action. So this would give you an option to just unsubscribe right away without scrolling through the whole thing and trying to find a tiny link at the bottom.
Neat.
I just had my first mic mute unmute failure. I feel
Wow.
this is my
Right after me too.
Yeah, because well, you said that, and I was like, oh yeah, when I'm hooked up via USB, I can use the mute button, so I used it. And yeah, so there we go.
It works.
It works.
Test
Mutes.
successful.
All right, so let's move on to the various Google Drive applets. I guess the Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets all got updated this week with new features. David, what's new in that territory?
Well, I mean, it's strictly functional stuff, and it's stuff you want. You can now put images in the Docs and Slides apps in Android, and Sheets and Drive get basically in Sheets you get support for tables. So that's what's important there. Or excuse me, maybe it's Slides you get support for tables. Anyways, all of these apps got significant updates. You should go download them. If you haven't gotten the official rollout yet, you can always go to APK Mirror, and we have the APKs for you there. Because
Okay,
that's what APK Mirror is for.
Not that I've ever used Slides, I think, ever in my life, but did you seriously not have the ability to put images in Slides before?
It might have been for Sheets.
It says Docs and Slides.
It does say that in the title, and I'm inclined to believe the titles we write, but that one does strike me as a bit odd.
Let's I'm gonna just glance at this. You can go ahead. I'm just gonna read.
Here's my guess. Google put that in a blog post just to see if anybody was paying attention.
It does. It says right here in the text, Docs and Slides now let you insert images. Okay.
Yeah, that's something.
Well, huh. I mean, yeah, it is nobody would know because nobody uses Slides ever. I don't think any human being has ever actually used it that doesn't develop it.
I mean, I've used PowerPoint before, and this is, to my understanding, a less feature-rich version of PowerPoint, and I don't even like using PowerPoint, so...
Yeah,
nobody uses PowerPoint because they want to.
Exactly.
Yeah. PowerPoint is, it's always, no, nobody does that willingly.
Yes, that's you use that when somebody has told you have to.
Yep.
You are required to make a boring presentation, and the best way to do that is PowerPoint. So good luck.
Yeah, there's been times when I've been in meetings and I've been presenting information, and they say, you know what, I just don't understand this at all when you say it this way. Is it possible that we could just postpone this meeting and you could put it back together in a PowerPoint? That's not really ever happened. That's never happened anywhere ever.
I feel like that's a thing that has been said.
Probably. It probably has. Yeah. I give people too much credit. All right, so moving on to YouTube, 10.18 has rolled out this week, adding some new features for your viewing history, right?
Yes, they added the option to pause your watch history, which is strange because that option's been on the web for as long as I can remember. But now it's in the app, so if you either want to pause your watch history or unpause it, you can now do that.
Well, I want to unpause mine, but I haven't paused it yet, so what do I do?
You go on the app and pause it, and then you can unpause it from either the app or the web.
Can you pause it from one and then unpause it from. Okay, never mind. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna move on to Play Music. We got an update, not to the app this time, but to the web interface for Play Music, which I honestly haven't ever used, Ryan. So is it significantly better?
It is different. It actually looks almost exactly like the app now, which is either an okay thing or a bad thing depending on who you talk to. The Play Music app on Android gets kind of a lot of hate because it is not optimal, and so now the web interface looks pretty much just like that. It's got cards for all of the albums and radio stations and and playlists and everything. It does adapt to the width of your window, which is pretty cool. So the columns aren't like all squished together awkwardly if you have like a big monitor. Although it does look kind of weird if your window is like wide and not very tall, then you just kind of don't see very much because it expands widthwise to fill up the entire space. So then it just cuts off the bottom. But I think for most window sizes and monitors, it will be better for seeing stuff. Yeah, so you should go and look. It's all material and whatnot, and the functionality is the same as far as I can tell.
Cool. All right, with that, let's move on to the Rumor Roundup. And this is where the Rumor Roundup soundover would go. This isn't awkward at all, by the way.
Nope, not at all.
All right, so we got some photos that leaked out this week regarding the Galaxy S6 Active, which presumably will be coming pretty soon. It sounds, at least from the onset, like this is a step up from what they've done with Actives in the past, right? It's pretty similar to the G6 itself.
Well, I mean, the Galaxy S5 Active was very similar to the Galaxy S5 internally, and as far as specifications went, there were some minor differences. So I assume with this S6 Active, we can hopefully expect the QHD AMOLED display. Probably the same chipset, probably the same most things inside. They might change a few things, I don't know, because the bill of materials on a ruggedized phone like this is probably going to be a little higher. But basically, this rumored image we're seeing is real. I've seen the device previously, and this is what it looks like. I don't know about the specifications, though. It would make sense that it would be exactly like the S6 as far as most specs go, apart from ruggedization. But I'm not sure. I can't confirm that. And it looks like the S5 Active. So one thing that is kind of interesting is I'd heard previously that the team that designed the Galaxy S6 designed the Galaxy S4, and the team that designed the Galaxy S5 designed the Galaxy S3. So it's like they switch off every other year.
Really?
And I'm guessing...
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is. And I honestly, outside somebody who works for Samsung Korea, I mean, I don't think anybody can know how true this is. But it would make sense that the S5 Active and the S6 Active are so similar if it's the S5 team who made the S5 waterproof also does the active devices. So they're just building on that aesthetic, because it looks nothing like the Galaxy S6 at all.
Yeah, I have a feeling, though, if that annual trade-off thing is how they've been doing it thus far, they're probably not going to keep doing it because, boy, the Galaxy S5...
Yeah, Team Galaxy S4 kicked Team Galaxy S5's ass.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, though, is if you recall, when the Galaxy S3 launched, they had that team of guys who were like the corporate espionage ninjas who made sure that nobody ever got any information. So those guys would have been involved with the S5, so it should have been awesome because... The ninja espionage guys were working on it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I guess they were one-hit wonders or something.
Maybe
they ran out of ideas after they had to move beyond the teardrop shaped everything and like the nature UX effects. They had nothing else. Tank was empty.
All right, so next let's move on to the new G-Pad X, which has had some images leak out courtesy of EV Leaks. So Ryan, what is it and where's it going?
So there's apparently a Verizon version of it that you'll be able to get for probably too much money, and it looks like if you took a G4 and blew it up to tablet size, and then made the back ugly, that's what this tablet is. It's got that very distinctive like LG shape where like it's got the slightly curved top and bottom, Then on the back, it looks like it has brushed aluminum, but only over like 80% of the back, and then the rest is some sort of plastic. And it has stereo speakers on the back, off to one side. It's an oddly proportioned device. But maybe it'll actually be another premium tablet from LG. The last few tablets they've announced have all been mid-range. There hasn't really been a true successor to the G Pad 8.3. So it would be nice if this this tablet, which we believe is about that same size, had good specs.
Yes, that would be nice.
Yeah, I kind of don't see LG getting into the nice tablet market. I don't think there's enough money there. So it's probably going to be, mediocre.
They have sold a lot of those, the G Pad 7s, or whatever the G Pad 7.0 that they announced last year. I see those all the time.
Interesting.
I don't believe I've ever seen one.
I don't believe I've ever... No, wait. I saw one at the G4 launch and used by an LG spokesperson.
No, I mean, I like it. Like the LTE versions of that tablet, they're super cheap. People buy them on like AT&T and Verizon all the time.
Interesting.
If you need an LTE tablet, they'll give you one for like free.
Well, free if you mean like 40 extra bucks a month for 2 years.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's I guess free to some people.
It's free if you don't have to pay for the tablet.
Fair enough.
Technically.
Fair enough. All right, so let's move on to Huawei, who has been talking about for some time that they'd like to enter into the U.S. market. Now it feels like we might know a lot more about their plans for that very soon, right, David?
Yeah, kind of. This event is they're going to talk about the brand, and they're going to introduce a phone called the Ascend P8 Lite. But not only is it the watered-down version of the flagship phone they announced last month, it is the watered-down version of the phone they announced last month. So they built the P8, and they went, we're going to sell this in so many countries, like I think they said like 35 launch countries. And then like we're going to do the P8 Lite too, which we're going to sell in a bunch of countries as well. And then they also said, well, then there's another version of the P8 Lite. It's over there in the corner. Under the bag. And that should be the one America gets. So it'll probably be cheap. I mean, it remains to be seen how good it'll be, but I wouldn't be super hopeful. And yeah, that's probably what's going to happen at that event. I would wait till later this year to see what Huawei's big U.S. plans are. I think later this year, they had the Honor 6 and Honor 6 Plus, which were very successful phones, and I think the successor to those devices later this year hopefully will launch in America, and that will actually be something worth paying attention to, because I seriously doubt this thing they're going to unveil next month is.
Now I'm trying to remember their skin that they put on there. It
is Motion UX or something.
Thicker than frozen molasses. I mean, it is a hell of an Android UI skin.
So do you think if they come to the States they'll come with that same approach?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with the phone, I think what they do is EMUI Lite. Seriously, that's a thing. They have a skin and they have a light version of it. Huawei is basically Coca-Cola. This is like Diet EMUI, and we're getting the Diet P8.
Does that UI have an app drawer or still no?
An app drawer? What's an app drawer? I can't. The concept of drawer for apps. It sounds a little too abstract for me.
Wacky, right? You should just put all of the apps on the home screen as you install them.
I think that's
one after another, just to infinity.
It's kind of like when I buy a huge quantity of like chicken, I actually just lay it out on giant cookie sheets. I refuse to stack it or put it in bags because it would be harder to find the chicken if it was compartmentalized.
That's the same reason that you spread all of your phones out on the table so
exactly.
That they're easy to access.
That, and I'm paranoid about them scratching each other. They're like cats in a bag.
David's phones are like cats in a bag.
They are. It's very true.
All right. Well, It sounds like this isn't necessarily the event to be excited about if you're looking forward to a great Huawei device in the States, but at least it's a step in the right direction towards maybe seeing that a little bit down the road. All right, so let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Squirrels and Reflector 2, sponsoring us this week. This week's podcast sponsored by Reflector 2, the easiest way to cast your Android device's screen directly to your PC or Mac. Just load the app to start casting and use. You can. Oh, jeez, I am off tonight. All right, just load up the app and start casting using Google Cast or AirPlay the same way you would to Chromecast or Apple TV. You can even record while you're casting, which is pretty cool. Head on over to airsquirrels.com/reflector to try it out free for a week, and if you like it, use Android Police 51 as a promo code to get $5 off of a single license.
Oh, I'm going to use Reflector 2 later in the show for a legitimately useful purpose for our people who are watching video. And also, in regard to the chat room about you can't install custom launchers on Huawei phones, they do that, but it's usually there's a way you can work around it and force it to switch launchers.
Wait. So what happens when you install a third-party launcher? Does it just not...
There's no interface to switch launchers.
Why?
So Chinese OEMs do this because they want to be like Apple. There actually is no legitimate technical reason. They want to lock in the experience because they think that's better. Obviously, that's very dumb, and they should stop doing it, but they do it. And usually I found that, especially, Oppo phones that I've reviewed have this, but in the first update, they remove it, and you can switch launchers again. It's like they get user feedback, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't do this." Yeah, but that is a thing on some Chinese phones, and I know on my Huawei Mate 2 that I have Google Now Launcher installed and running, and that it works. So with some of their devices, maybe the ones that are sold in China, this is a problem in. But I have Google Now Launcher on the Honor 6 Plus as well, so it's possible. Okay. It's just kind of
hopefully they just do that then, and builds like you said they do for China that don't even have the Google stuff installed.
Yeah.
So does that mean if you download a launcher and install it, and you hit a home button somewhere, it doesn't give you the selection?
No, and I believe what they're probably doing is exploiting some kind of loophole where that's not a part of AOSP, that functionality has to be there, or they're just breaking the rules and hoping Google doesn't notice.
Well, if they only do it on devices that don't have Google services, then they don't need to worry about certification, I guess.
That's true. That is very true.
Okay, I think we solved this one.
I remember using custom launchers on my Fascinate when I first got it. I had to download a program, a home switcher, I think it was called, that kind of automated all that for you. I wonder if that's still around and if it would work.
Well, that was also the era where they could sell you the Fascinate without Google search installed.
I'm guessing as long as it was accessing some kind of something in AOSP, some kind of feature of the operating system, which I'm guessing that's what it was doing, I bet it would work. Because there's no way they're actually stripping out parts of Android on those phones. They're just disabling your access to the features.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the hot sheet.
This is where Bob would scream, "Hot sheet!"
Oh, you just... Sorry.
Just thinking about these headphones users.
Yeah.
All right, so it's admittedly only a moderately hot sheet this week. We've got LG news, not a new phone, but just new news about a phone you already know about. In this case, it's the G4. A little bit interesting that the Quick Charge wasn't listed on the initial set of features. David, what was going on with that?
Yeah, so I think that if you want to be, quote, Quick Charge compatible, I don't know if there's a license fee to Qualcomm, but the functionality is included with the chipset. So it's possible that Qualcomm was charging for this feature, charging a license or royalty fee, and then when they saw other manufacturers basically just copying the concept, they went, "We won't charge you for it anymore. You can just do it or whatever. And you don't even have to say it's Quick Charge. We just want you to use our our PMIC, I think that's what it is, PMIC interface. So LG didn't say it had a quick charge, and they're not shipping it with a quick charge compatible charger. That's possible. It's where Qualcomm's making the money, is in certifying the technology on the wall bricks. But I don't know. There's not a lot of reporting on this topic, and there's really, you'd have to talk to somebody from Qualcomm or somebody who makes chargers to really get a look inside that. But the LG G4 does support quick charge, but it doesn't ship with a quick charge charger. Now, top tip, if you want a quick charge charger that works with the Nexus 6, the Note 4, the Galaxy S6, the G4, and any other phone that's Quick Charge 2.0 enabled, go on Amazon and buy a Note 4 charger. They're $7, and they do the 2.0 amp with the full Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0. It's not a different system. It's the exact same thing. I've tested it. It works.
I think it's the exact same piece of hardware they bundle with the Galaxy S6.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's the same one. It's amazing to me that people buy the Motorola turbochargers because there is literally no reason to pay Motorola anything close to that much money.
But it's like it's bigger and heavier. That means it's better.
Exactly, and I that's so what they're going for. Because when you look at that Motorola charger, like, oh man, there's some serious guts going on in here. And maybe it has, more safety and redundancies built into it. I am not going to claim to have torn it apart.
Has anybody done a teardown of the turbocharger?
They should do that. That should be
iFixit and see how much empty space there is in there.
iFixit should do that, actually. Maybe we should email them and ask them to do that, because that would be really interesting to do.
I was just thinking about it. I have a Motorola brick charger right here. It's unfortunate my Samsung charger isn't.
Isn't it so beefy and reassuring?
It's very I feel I'm just gonna walk around with this in my pocket from now on, just to get that extra, libido. I think it'll give me just from how beefy it is. All right, so other than that, we've got some device updates to talk about, starting off with the HTC One M7 Google Play Edition getting a 5.1 over-the-air update. Also, the Verizon version of the HTC One M7 getting update to 5.0, so not 5.1, but then again, it's not GPE, so what do you expect? AT&T's Galaxy Tab S 10.5 getting a Lollipop update this week, as well as the second generation Moto E getting the 5.1 upgrade. So if you've got one of those, you should be checking for updates now. And this is the part where Bob yells about product reviews and lists the product that Ryan is about to review. In this case, it's the Flir Fx Camera, and it's a quick review from Ryan.
Yes, so this is a new sort of connected security camera thing. It's a competitor to Dropcam, and it's good in some ways and really kind of not ready in others. So it has a lot of hardware features that Dropcam doesn't have that people have been kind of irked about. So you can record locally to the device to an SD card. It has a built-in battery. It actually has two batteries: a battery in the stand and a battery in the camera. And the camera part comes off of the stand, and you can and it has like a sport case and a dash mount case. So you can take it around and you record for a few hours like that, and it's still and it uploads over Wi-Fi to the internet if you have that turned on. And of course, it's a FLIR camera, so it does night vision IR recording, and it's really good. It can see an entire room if you put it in the corner. It has a really wide field of view. The problem, however, is that the software is still kind of janky. You can only access the camera feeds from the app. You can't access it online through a web browser, which I think is odd. And it's way too sensitive. Like if you set up a motion detection alarm, it just a couple times an hour it'll just push a notification to tell you that the motion was detected, and you look at the recording, it's like there's nothing in the room. So that part of the experience is just, it's just broken, and supposedly they're trying to fix it. Right now their answer is like, yeah, there are a lot of false positives, but you've got this rapid recap thing to make it easier to see all of your recordings, and that is a neat feature. I posted in the review at the top. You should just go look. It's a picture of one of my dogs walking through the room like 8 different times in the space of 2 seconds.
Use of GIF.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's a really cool feature if you just want to see what's been going on in the camera's field of view during the day. But I mean, I would like to see a few updates maybe to the app and the firmware to make that a little bit better. But I mean, it's a $200 camera. I mean, it's like drop cam, and then there's an outdoor mount that's you can get bundled for I think $250. So neat hardware, software is still kind of iffy.
All right, good deal. So something to check out for those of you who want to like monitor your home or other places. Also, David, you've got a G4 review. This hasn't even gone on the site yet. So, I mean, this is like early access stuff.
Oh, whoops. I was muted. But it has gone on the site, actually. Just in, like, excuse me, the last hour and a half, though. So it was relatively recent. So, yeah, I've got the G4, and actually, I'm going to do a tie-in here. As you know, our sponsor this week is Reflector 2, and I'm not going to talk about them hugely as our sponsor right now, but I am going to show you their software because it is useful. And so right now, you can see my screen, and you can see I have two Android devices up on the display of my Windows computer here, and they are both LG devices. You can see them refreshed right there. So this is actually, I'm using essentially Reflector 2 as a Chromecast emulator for your computer, and I'm casting the screen of two devices at once to a single Windows computer in relatively high resolution. I'd say it's 720p, and there are some interpolating artifacts and stuff. But so you can demo, if you're watching the video show, obviously, you can see that I'm using both these phones. And so the one on the left-hand side is the G4, or maybe it's right-hand side. Maybe things are backwards. The one I'm actually doing stuff with right now is the G4, and the other one's a G3. So as you can see, the software on these devices does look very similar. LG's UI layer hasn't changed a lot. One thing that I do like is that on the taskbar here, the status bar, the icons take up less space now, which is really nice because they take up, if you see on the G3 there, they take up over half the status bar if you have Bluetooth and NFC turned on, which is just totally ridiculous. And then you've got your sound profile icon taking even more there. So they shrunk those down on the G4, as you can see. But the overall look at the software and the launcher and stuff, I mean, it's pretty familiar. The software changes, there's some aesthetic ones, but the aesthetic changes are overall pretty minor. For example, if I open up the calendar app here, we can see that in the G3's calendar app, there's not a floating action button, and that is the difference between the apps. So LG has kind of taken a opportunistic approach to material design, I guess. Not that the G4's display looks anything like material design in almost any other respect. So hardware-wise, and let me get off my screen sharing here. The build quality is still typical LG, not very nice. The curved chassis doesn't really make it seem any nicer, if I'm honest. It keeps the screen from getting scratched when it's face down on a surface or whatever. But anywhere else, it's it's just a gimmick mostly. It's stylistic, and from a stylistic standpoint, I think the LG G4 is honestly one of the least good-looking phones to be released in recent memory. It's just not pretty. It's not that it's super ugly. It's just that it's not nice in any particular way. But it gets great battery life. The camera is really good. I love the camera on it. And I don't like the raw capture or anything. That's kind of messed up right now. Not that it's particularly useful, even if it weren't messed up, honestly. But the battery life is great, the camera's great, the screen is brighter, has better viewing angles, and uses less power than last year's model. The colors aren't accurate or anything. They're not super oversaturated, but they are saturated, and so you're going to get an unrealistic interpretation of certain colors if you're reviewing photos and stuff. But it's fairly quick. It doesn't have overheating problems, or I should say it doesn't have throttling problems like the G Flex 2 and One M9 do. It also doesn't have the unusual amount of power consumption those phones seem to. And obviously, it has a removable battery and a micro SD card, which is important to some people. And yeah, I mean, it's not the technical equivalent of the Galaxy S6. Don't start to think that, because it's just not true. The Snapdragon 808 and the RAM and the NAND and all that are just flat out inferior to the Exynos chipset in the S6, unfortunately. But the G4 still performs pretty quickly, not as technically quick as the S6 in a lot of tasks, but quick enough. It's just all around likable, and I think the battery and the camera are huge to that. The battery life is great, and the display is so improved versus last year's phone, and that was such a huge drawback of the G3 that it makes this, I think, a much more likable phone overall. The software is ugly, the phone isn't good looking, but from a kind of holistic, functional standpoint, it's a really good phone.
How have
It's
you
pretty
felt
on the
about
inside.
how have you felt about the camera performance compared to the S6?
You know, it's hard to say, but because I haven't used the S6 much, so I would say that the smartness of the HDR on the LG isn't quite there, because I've always known that on Samsung phones, the phone is very good about knowing when to do an HDR capture when it's on automatic mode, if you've got a lot of shadows, whereas the G4 is more willing to get those shadows in the image if it thinks that the scene doesn't need HDR. So that might need some tweaking. I think the sensors are the same size. I'm not sure. The LG focuses really quickly. The shutter times are pretty decent. And the full manual mode is actually nicer than other implementations I've seen, because there's an auto exposure lock. So you don't have to be in full manual when you're in manual. So you can use manual all the time, but if you have auto exposure lock turned off, it's still basically like using a normal camera. If you want to lock the exposure and set your shutter speed and set your ISO, you can do that. Not that it's something I do on my phone often, but I think the camera experience overall is probably more well-rounded than what Samsung's offering.
Yeah, the Samsung camera on the S6, it's really good, but it's very based on like, okay, just turn on auto and it'll probably be okay.
It's dumbed down, yeah. But to be honest with you, how many people get into manual mode and start adjusting ISO and things like that on a phone? I mean, you're talking about a camera that's designed to be the most convenient camera and also take great pictures. Do a lot of people really use that? I don't know. I mean, the thought's never even occurred to me to even consider it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the enthusiast smartphone camera user, I mean, that just basically means to me that you use a lot of Instagram. That's all that really means.
Right.
I don't think there are a ton of people out there like, oh, I really wish I could set the aperture on my smartphone. And
So
I just don't know.
So you said that like the raw capture is a little bit like messed up right now, but like if you want to take a raw image, can you have it just do a JPEG and a raw at the same time?
That's the only way
have to
it does it.
Huh?
That's the only way it does it. JPEG and RAW at the same time.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least that way you can, if you want to play around with like manual settings, you can still take regular pictures. And then...
Yeah, the thing is, you're not getting an accurate representation in the viewfinder of what the RAW image is going to look like, and then the JPEG image doesn't look like the RAW image, and so you see previews.
What is it? Does it show? So it shows you a preview of both of them, or
no? You can't see the DNG on the device, as far as I'm aware. It's because it's locked to RAW plus JPEG shooting. When you go into RAW mode, it's just associating the files because they have the same name.
Sure.
So it's just going to use the JPEG whenever.
That's like a fine way to do it. Like you take your JPEGs and they're probably fine. And if you want to mess around with RAW files, like you've got them, you can put them someplace.
The problem with RAW files out of the G4 is that there's no profile correction for the lens and sensor. Basically, LG's just spitting out the file. They're not applying any corrections to it, which you would think that's the point of RAW. You don't apply any corrections, but that's not true because the camera you're shooting on, if you're using a prosumer or professional camera, the camera is usually going to apply a firmware-based correction profile to every RAW file before it finishes rendering the file, and that corrects things that have to do with the lens. If it's a fixed lens camera, it has to do with the sensor. Maybe the settings of the camera at a given moment when the picture was taken. So there are changes that are going to happen there. And then in post-processing software like Lightroom, there are also going to be profiles for lenses and cameras that correct problems. And one of the G4's problems is that because the lens is so close to the sensor and it's basically locked open at f1.8, you can't adjust the aperture on the G4, by the way. And I've never seen it shoot below f1.8. Basically, an aperture that wide, so close to the sensor, causes a shadow on the sensor effectively. It's like a chromatic shadow, so it can be different colors, but it's like a shadow, a ring around the whole image. There's no easy way to get rid of that in editing yourself. You would have to manually go in and correct the areas that are affected and don't touch the areas that aren't. So it'd be a big pain in the butt. So the DNG files from the G4, I mean, it doesn't happen on every image, but as it is, it's based on how people use DNG and RAW files, which is usually professionally, not that useful.
There you have it. Not that useful. But overall, good camera, so take that for what you will. If you like removable batteries, if you like more battery life than you'll get from the S6, if you like taking pictures in general, sounds like it's a good pickup. All right, let's move on to app updates. This is the Kid Rock sounding sounder.
It is.
So sometimes at this point, Bob would sing a song sounding like Kid Rock, but not often enough. Not even close to often enough. All right, so Nintendo is releasing some mobile games, which is unique. They're very, very, very tight-fisted with their first-party intellectual property. So good news for fans of that game, but it's coming to mobile with an approach different than what some other folks have used, right, Liam?
Yeah, so Nintendo says that they'll have 5 games on mobile without specifying which platform by March of 2017. The first title will be available by the end of this year, and they say that they're not just going to port existing games over to mobile, they're going to build them from the ground up. So presumably this means that they will be considering the fact that you're playing on a touchscreen and come up with some experiences that would be better than just an emulator. Although, if I'm honest, I'd be totally fine if they just ported Pokemon to Android. That would be fine with me.
It'd be okay with me, too. It would also not make me happy in any way, shape, or form.
God, Nintendo, I mean, they are in such a hard spot, though. This is an interesting topic to me because Nintendo does so well on mobile with the DS 3D. They had such a breakout hit. And you've got to think, like, how are we really going to let go a world where we can sell a portable game for $35?
Right.
For one where we can sell it for $5?
Well, I mean, Square has listings for all their games that are like $20, like 15
I'm
or
sure
20
the piracy rates are crazy too.
I mean, look, if Nintendo decided to release a Pokemon game on Android for $30, they would sell a lot of them.
Oh, they would. They would sell tons of them. And I mean, it'd be a totally smart idea. But Nintendo's always been so resistant to this just because they feel like...
They always like to have their hardware platform.
Yeah, well, they feel like they're going to get Sega'd. I mean, so, Sega makes games for multiple platforms.
That might happen anyway, no matter what they do. It's better to get Sega'd by your own standards than somebody else's.
That's very true. I mean, they may not be avoiding it. I mean, the Wii U is so different from the PS4 and Xbox One that it feels like Nintendo's kind of off in their own universe at this point, doing their own thing.
All right, let's move on to other news.
This is not a section break. Oh, wait, no,
it is. It is. It was just normally I do
You ruined it, David.
God damn it.
All right, so new SDK launched for the Gear smartwatch line this week that might have given away some details about an upcoming Round smartwatch. I think we've known this is coming for a while. So Ryan, what seems interesting about the Round approach from Samsung?
Okay, so this is obviously one of Samsung's Tizen watches. It's not an Android Wear watch, even though confusingly they had the Android Wear watch that was called the Gear Live. Different thing. So this is going to be their first Round smartwatch, and there are a bunch of UI screens in the SDK that look pretty much like what the Gear stuff looks like, but on a round screen. Instead of just having the swiping and the button interactions, you'll also apparently be able to twist the bezel like clockwise and counterclockwise to scroll through lists and like zoom on images. I don't know how useful it will be in an actual practice, but it seems like an interesting UI interaction at least. Just sort of abstractly. But maybe using it won't be comfortable, or it'll just be a thing that is just sort of tacked on after the fact. It doesn't really provide any real utility. But yeah, because there are a ton of images in the post. There are like 30 of them or something. And there's a little comparison table in the SDK to give people an idea what sort of hardware capabilities this device will have. So apparently there will be a 3G version of it and just a regular non-3G version. It won't have an ambient light sensor, which is odd because the Gear S did have one. So you'll have to manually adjust the screen brightness. And then it has most of the other stuff. It'll have GPS built in. There's no camera, which Samsung hasn't done for a while because you don't really need a camera on your watch. And it'll be a little bit smaller. I think they said like 1.18 inches the screen will be, but the resolution will be 360 by 360, which is a pretty high PPI.
Or 1.8?
It said 1.18 apparently.
That's smaller than the G Watch R.
I mean, if you look at like the table, they have like a size comparison with the other, like the Gear 2 and the Gear S, and I mean it looks tiny. I don't know if this is to scale.
Because the the G Watch R and Urbane, the screen is on it. It's too small. It needs to be just a little bit bigger. Smaller than that, I don't know how it would work.
If that's like the final size, what they're going to do, that might be part of the reason that this bezel twisting thing is happening. Because if you don't have to touch the screen for as many things, then that might be fine. I mean, it would make the overall device a lot more understated. A lot of smartwatches, they have big screens, but they're big. They look gigantic.
Every time Samsung does something wearable, it's that golden retriever in the laboratory. I have no idea what I'm doing. .jpg.
I mean,
it's so ridiculous.
Samsung has got the money to do kind of crazy things like this, and maybe it'll work. I mean, I don't know if you remember, like when the first Note came out. At least the impression I had was that everybody thought it was crazy and stupid. It's like this gigantic phone with a stylus that, even by today's standards, isn't even that big.
Oh well, the stylus is still dumb.
But yeah, the stylus is still unusual for like every phone. But I mean, people really like that phone. I mean, it did really well, and now that's one of the top selling lines of phones. So Samsung tries crazy stuff, and sometimes it works. Maybe this whole bezel twisting smartwatch thing will be a thing that works for them.
To be fair, though, the Note is popular because they actually executed it pretty well. I mean.
Yeah, I mean we are relying on Samsung making a smartwatch that people want to buy. I don't know that I'm convinced that smartwatches in general are a thing that regular people want to buy, but I mean you don't have to sell that many smartwatches for it to be a successful smartwatch, because smartwatches are not really popular in the first place.
Right. All right, so let's move on to Verizon. In interesting news, they bought AOL, which means that they'll inherit all of the world's remaining dial-up users. But also, there's a lot more there that I think they're probably a lot more interested, right, David?
Yeah. So let me go ahead and find the article I'm talking about here. Verizon has bought or is going to buy AOL, assuming it passes regulatory scrutiny, which I don't see why it wouldn't. Which means they're buying Engadget and TechCrunch, which may be of concern to you, I guess, if you read those websites. Verizon said they're going to maintain editorial independence, blah, 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 which, I mean, it depends on how Verizon organizes things, and honestly, I won't pretend to even know how that's going to begin to work. But, yeah, it's big news with Verizon acquiring AOL just because they're going from being Verizon desperately wants to go from being a telecom company to being a content and services provider. They do not want to get left behind with Time Warner and Comcast, even though they make tons of money. They're still constantly under the threat of becoming a dumb pipe to another service that manages to infiltrate their market. Verizon wants to be the creator of the content to give users incentives to buy the content, and those users should be on Verizon services, ideally when they access the content, and probably get some benefit by doing that. So Verizon probably mostly bought them for the ad network. Most likely, Verizon wants to make revenue out of this. So
I just want to make sure that this is clear, just in case anybody didn't know this already. But Verizon has been doing this content thing for a while, and they're terrible at it.
yeah, they are, and it's the thing is, Verizon. You have to remember, Verizon Communications or whatever is basically old Bell Atlantic, and you've got to imagine some of that mentality of just buy all the things, and then whatever sticks works. Just don't let anybody compete with you at all, ever. Just buy them or destroy them. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I imagine it's going to go through. And AOL's got a robust enough ad network right now, making enough money that it could be a viable business.
All right, fair enough. All right, and the last little bit of other news comes to us from Kickstarter. The NextPack modular phone case. Which everything on Kickstarter is modular these days, right, Ryan?
Yeah, there are all those modular phones that are totally going to happen, I'm sure. They're not scams at all. No, there have been a few of these Kickstarters lately of like teams of 3 people who claim they're going to build a functional modular Android phone in 9 months, which just sounds crazy. So this is, I guess, in some ways, it's kind of refreshing. It's like, look, we'll just put all the modular stuff on a case, and you put the phone in a case. It seems much more plausible. So yeah, it's basically just kind of a big battery case, and then on the back there are 6 module slots, and you can put in things like additional storage or like a brighter flashlight. I guess if the flash on your phone isn't bright enough for you, or as more battery power, or like shortcut buttons. It seems interesting. I mean, I don't know it's something I would ever put on my phone because it's gigantic. But if you're the kind of person who like buys Mophie juice packs to give your phone more power, then maybe something like this would be up your alley. And they've already tripled the amount they were asking for in Kickstarter, and they appear to have actual prototypes working. So they're further along than all of those modular phone guys. So yeah, you can look at it maybe if you want.
Prototypes is a good thing. Or I should say are a good thing.
Yes, it would be a bummer if you were like doing a crowdfunding thing and you didn't have a prototype, and then your campaign got closed because you were shady, and then you couldn't even open another campaign because you didn't have a prototype to show that the technology works.
Yep.
That would be unfortunate if that happened just a few days ago to somebody.
Oh yeah, and I mean, speaking of modular phones, obviously, we talked about PhoneCraft last week, I guess. Did we know their campaign got shut down on last week's show? Their campaign got shut down, so that was good.
Yeah, that's good.
They want to relaunch on Kickstarter, but quote, they do not meet the rigorous standards
For Kickstarter, the site that had a potato salad campaign on it.
Yeah, so that's
they
interesting.
cannot meet the standards of potato salad.
So this came to mind when you were going through the different modules and stuff. It seems to me like if you just have a battery module that's swappable and an external storage module, like you could make a lot of people's day like instantly. Just make it compatible with the Galaxy S6, which I don't think it is.
It's weird. It has, like, right now they say it's iPhones, obviously, and then the Galaxy S5 and the S6 Edge, which is odd. I mean, I have to think they're going to make a regular Galaxy S6 version.
The thing about it is, like, the S6 is the easier one to make because it doesn't have the oddity of the sides of the screens.
Yeah.
Like, from a component standpoint, it's practically the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, hey, everybody who's throwing a fit about not having removable storage or batteries in their S6s could just buy one of these things, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, this has, let's see, it has built-in, it has a 1,000 milliamp hour battery, like, in the case, and then the battery modules, if you add one of those, are like an extra 500. So, I mean, it's not huge, but, I mean, it is it's removable battery for your phone.
It is.
I don't know. I mean, the thing with this whole thing is, how are they going in multiple USB devices at once? That sounds no.
Well, I mean, most of them are just power. They don't have like interaction with the software. There's like, I mean, the storage one I think is the only one that would be really kind of.
Or is there a camera one? Or no, it's flashlight.
They have and I don't think they have a camera add-on. Now that would be getting crazy if they had like a camera module. And there's a laser pointer.
Well, I mean, one of the huge things for this is, and it's kind of niche, but at the same time, it's the exact kind of person who would buy this sort of thing. Would be an external headphone amplifier and digital to analog converter, which probably wouldn't be possible with external storage as well. I mean, it's not on there, but I guarantee there's probably like 20 comments already asking if they want to do one.
Yeah, well, I mean, this could be a neat device if it happens. So maybe this will be a thing that exists going forward, and they'll have a lot of modules. Who knows? It's a lot. I mean, it makes a lot more sense than like having a modular phone, because the number of people that want a modular phone is probably tiny.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys something that seriously annoys me on the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge, because we're not talking about anything else now. I'm on the home screen on the S6 Edge here and swipe to the Flipboard briefing, and there's Flipboard briefing, and then I want to go home again. Why does it animate in that direction? So I go, it comes from the right, and then it leaves down?
There are so many things wrong with the briefing screen like that. It instantly turned that off because, I mean, just using it for a few minutes, I became infuriated. I mean, the phone is fast almost all the time, except like, if you swipe over to briefing, it's just going to wait for a second to make sure that you actually meant that, and then it'll go, and then you use this awful briefing thing, and then you leave it, and it does the weird animation, and it's just bad.
Okay, so I actually had the Now launcher loaded on my S6 before I even left the T-Mobile store. So I didn't even know that the briefing thing was a thing, and today it updated, and it's like, you have an update to briefing, and I'm like, what in the world is that? So now you've answered a question for me, because I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, it's bad. And then also the stock home screen, it does the parallax animation, and I wish there was a way to turn that off because it is so annoying.
Yeah, Apple does it better. It's smoother, and on the S6,
and
it's kind of like all over the place.
It actually changes the shadows on iOS. I think, right? Like
it's more realistic. It's more like you're looking through a window, whereas on the S6 Edge is like your wallpaper's on like a table covered in olive oil.
I mean, and you know what? Like, what irks me? It's just, this is a very minor thing. But because it does that parallax thing, every time you set a wallpaper, whether you're using the stock launcher or not, it crops it just a little bit so that if you're on the stock launcher, it can still shift around. So like if you take it like an image that's exactly the resolution of the screen and try to set it as your wallpaper in the Google Now launcher, it still crops it a little bit and it like scrolls ever so slightly.
That is extremely annoying.
Yes, it is the kind of thing that will annoy me to death, but most people will never notice. And now I've told you about it, and now it's going to bother you. So.
Yeah, no, now I'm not going to set a custom wallpaper. It's done. It's settled.
Well, that's why I have the Now launcher on mine and did before I even left the store. So, all right. So we had voicemail today. Unfortunately, I tried to play it earlier on the show and it crashed the Hangout. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait on the voicemail till next week when Bob can do whatever magic he normally does to get voicemails to work. So if you have any more messages, go ahead and send them on in. We're gonna guaranteed hit voicemails next week because I feel bad. We missed one this week, and it's all my fault because my computer's crashed.
And also, we don't just accept voicemails. You can also email us at podcast@androidpolice.com, and we will actually read your questions. We won't listen to your emails.
We will listen to
We've tried. It doesn't work. But if you send us an email with a question, or you know what, if you just want to give us a topic for discussion, if you would like to see something discussed on the show, send it to us.
You can also, when you send your question, you can request the voice that Bob uses to read it. like an accent or something.
You can request it in any kind of accent as long as it is not blatantly offensive.
I'm going to make up a fake email address just so I can request the robot voice.
The robot voice that Bob does usually is because of his internet connection.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, we have a topic list every week, and obviously there's always news, but some of it is less than interesting probably to most of you listening, and so it's much more interesting, I think, for people to hear us talk about stuff that people listening to the show would like to hear us talk about.
Yes.
So more user-generated content topic things would be great. And we should also probably start bringing people back on the show, people who listen, to come do the hangout with us, because that was kind of okay.
It's kind of okay.
Kind of, some of them.
It's fun.
That's the nicest thing I've ever heard David say about anything or anyone. So.
That's true. Very true. All right, well, right now there's some contests going on at AndroidPolice.com. There's 2 of them to be exact, and both of them are of the international variety. So no matter where you are in the world, you should get yourself on over to AndroidPolice.com/contest to get yourself entered to win either a 32GB Midnight Blue Nexus 6 from Android Police and Listen, or your choice of an HTC M9 Galaxy S6, Galaxy S6 Edge with skins from Android Police and D-Brand. So if those things sound interesting to you, and since they're phones, and this is a podcast about phones, they should sound interesting to you. Head on over and get yourself entered to win. Also, I can't tell Bob to roll the outro at this point in time, so I guess I'll just give it a shot. So thanks everybody for listening. Also a big thank you to Squirrels and Reflector2 for sponsoring the show. Remember, go to squirrels.com/Reflector2. Use promo code AndroidPolice51 for your $5 off of Reflector2 license. Also, get a hold of us at podcast@AndroidPolice.com. Call us at 530-HELLO-AP. That is 530-435-5627. And you can also find us on Twitter at Android Police or Google Plus and Facebook. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, let me stop the recording.
Yes, make sure it recorded.
Surprisingly, I'm recording it. I'm on the Hangout on my laptop with Audacity running in the background and recording the entire thing. This laptop is a second-generation Core i5 dual-core from 2011, early 2011. A fine vintage of Sony.
Oh, of Sony. I'm surprised that it hasn't burst into flames.
Well, it burned through a hard drive the second year I had it, and I was still under warranty somehow, so that got replaced. But other than that, and I got the screen replaced once, which was also free. But other than that, it's actually been somewhat reliable.
Other than those 2 catastrophic hardware failures,
it also survived a car crash, which was pretty good. So, unfortunately, now there's in the car crash, it slammed against the dashboard in my car and dented the chassis. It's aluminum, oddly, and so now there is a razor-sharp edge along the bottom left when you type, and it is just brutal.
I will say from my time with the BIOS that Sony really knows how to make aluminum feel like plastic.
They do. You would think it is, but actually I think it's because they put a plastic coating on the aluminum, all of which is now peeling off of my Bio. All of it.
Well, there you go.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I think I'm going to bail out.
Okay, and I am going to record and send the show to Bobbert.
Okay, yep, I'm going to head out as well, so I'll see you guys later.
All
right.
Come on, guys.
Peace out.